Junkyard Junkie, back here with another video. In today's video, we're going to be doing a whole video dedicated to steering wheel controls. Now this goes good with the how to install a radio video I made. If you want to retain your steering wheel controls, then you need to pick up something like this by Pack or Axis. So we're going to go ahead and jump online and show you how to get to all the information you need. Okay, so if you go to Google and type in Pack Audio, you will see their website come up. It is pack-audio.com. So we'll just click on it. So the two main ones that you're going to want to go with is either Pack or something like this, which is Axis. This is a pretty well-known and a lot of people love this one. I've had a little bit of issues with them here and there, but not much. I would still recommend people getting them, but for me, Pack is just unbeatable, especially with their customer service. If you ever do have a problem, I only had to reach out to them one time, but the customer service, I can't stress that enough, was amazing. They sit there and they went above and beyond to figure out what I needed to do, but ultimately it comes down to personal preference. So whichever one you're used to and you prefer, that's okay. Okay, and now we can just go down to our make, which is a Mazda. It's a Mazda 3 and the year is 2010. You just hit search. Now then, it's going to pull up everything they recommend. So first is going to be their most expensive package, of course. This one is already pre-wired and everything, so it's the easiest one you can possibly set up. If you click on it, you can actually read more. So if we come in here, it retains steering wheel controls and everything's pre-programmed and everything is pre-wired. So it's literally the most plug-and-play option that you can go with. Now the huge downside with this would be it is $250. But if we go ahead and go back, they give us a couple of different steering wheel control options. They got their SWI CP5 for $150. So you can check all these out and see if any of them match your needs. Now, say you're like us and you already have a steering wheel control module. So if that's the case, we can go up here. We have the SWI-RC-1. So we'll just go to wiring guide. And if you see here, this is the SWI-RC-1. And even though it wasn't recommended, it actually hooks up the exact same way the other ones did. And we can actually buy this one for, here it is only normally $90, but it is on sale right now for $64. So that's a lot cheaper than what they were recommending to us, and it will do the exact same thing those others do. Now we want to put in our vehicle's information, so we will find Mazda 3 2010 with no option. If you don't see your vehicle, you can always hit that right here. So now we need to go ahead and select our radio, which is a Pioneer in our case. Now then, dip switch settings. This is how you want to go ahead and program your dips. So 1 through 6 is down, and then 7 and 8 up, and then on the other side, number 4 up and the rest down. So we'll go ahead and go to next. And this is how they already pre-program it for you. You can always go back and reprogram it. But honestly, they usually do a really good job of setting these up. So usually you don't need to unless you just want to, which I will be showing in this video just in case someone wants to do it. Okay, so we'll go ahead and hit next. So we need to take our wire color from our SW1 to our vehicle's wire color. And this says connected viewed from wire side. So this means it's the back of the connector that they're looking at. This is important because sometimes it will say from the pin side. That means that you'd be looking at the actual inside of the connector itself. So I want to give you an example. This is the connector viewed from pin side. So it's very important to read what it says right here. And then once again, you will match up the colors and you will be good to go. And a lot of times if you go up here and hit connector help, you'll actually see what they're talking about. So 9 and 10. We got 9 and 10 right here. So we know that those are the ones we need to get into. So 10 right there would go to our white analog 1, and our 9 would go to our ground. I'll show you all that once we put it in the car. And then we want our white and black wire to go to a pink 12 on this connector, once again from the wire side. Now this one, if we click and we scroll down, it's in a very weird spot. Most of the time you're not going to actually have to do anything like this, but we're going to have to get into the glove box to this little connector here and tap into this. Now then, if we go back, okay, so once you get here, you can reassign all of these and more if you go to this document right here. And it will pull this up. As you can see, this is for different radios and everything else. Like here's Pioneer. So here is all the ones we can do, and some of these weren't even on there. The good thing about this is you can program it for short presses or long presses. So you can have two different programs on the same key. One can be a short press and one can be a long press. Now you can finish reading all this up. It's pretty straightforward, but I will be covering it in the video anyways. So if you want, you can just keep watching and you will see me do this part. Okay, so now we know what to do. I'm gonna go ahead and get this radio out so I can show you how we hook it up. When they had the radio first put in, they didn't want the steering wheel controls, so we're adding it in now. So remember, you can always come back and add steering wheel controls. But I'm going to go ahead and disassemble everything so we can get down to the wires. Okay, so coming in here and looking, we found our 9 and 10 are red and purple, and we can look at the other ones too. Okay, so if you've been a member of this channel for a while, you know that I don't like to come in and cut or splice into factory wires unless we absolutely have to. So I'll throw up on the screen now a wire and harness color sheet. That way we can connect most of our wires without having to tap into the back. So looking at every color that we have to hook up and everything we got to hook up, the only ones that we will have to tap into is the red wire here and then our pink wire over there. Okay, like I said, this isn't very common, but now that we got this whole glove box removed, we can find our Bluetooth module and we'll unplug it and look for that pink wire. So now, okay, so if we look here, there is our pink wire. It's faded in time, that's for sure. If you look at the back of the connector, it's the third one over. So we're going to go ahead and tap into that. Okay, to tap into these wires today, this is what I'm going to be using. If you don't feel comfortable tapping into them this way, you can always solder them for the best connection. But I found these work just fine. And it even gives you full instructions. So you're going to clip it to the wire, clamp it down, and then fully seat it. And then you'll take your other end to your new wire and it plugs in via spade. Okay, so this is what it looks like right here. You'll put your wire right in between those. You just clamp it down. Then the back side here has a spot for a spade connector. So you'll take your new wire and stick it right in there for the steering wheel controls. And then you just stick it right into here. Just like that. Okay, as you can see, I got this hooked up to the pink wire. I took a razor blade and just slowly cut up through there. Be very careful if you do that, but I needed more room to get into. But if you nick any wires or anything like that, you need to fix them now, so that way they're not a problem later. Okay, so now we just want to grab our wire. We're just going to strip a little bit off, just like that. Okay, so now we're just going to stick it in there, crimp it down, give it a pull test, and it's ready to go. Okay, so now we have it hooked up there. We ran it right through there to where our radio comes in at. Okay, so one piece of advice, make sure this blade goes into this slot. If it goes on the outsides of it, you won't have a connection and you'll wonder why it doesn't work. These tend to do that, so just as a heads up, watch out for that as you're doing it. Also, I didn't read this out loud on the instructions, but if you're reading the instructions good, it says to leave this unplugged from the Bluetooth module. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and open our steering wheel controls. So here we go. It even tells you where to go to. Okay, so these are our dip switches. Okay, so for our car, we put 7 and 8. And for our radio, since it's a Pioneer, we put 4 up. The rest are down. But you want to check PAC's website to see which ones you need up and down, because sometimes it'll be staggered. It just depends on your car and radio. Okay, so looking in here, we have our wiring. We just need to take it apart. A little bread tie. So you'll have 2 wires here, and your interface will have 2 different slots, a big one and a small one. And you'll also see the little slits right there for these top pieces. So you just plug it in. Then same thing on this side, we'll just plug it in. There we go. Okay, so we have 3 blacks that we need to hook up to ground. One comes from this other side here, and the other 2 come from this side. Then we need our red, and we need our white, but this is a white with a red stripe, so we don't need that one. We need the white and the white with black stripe. Same thing with our red. You want to get the red without the white stripe on it. Once we get them separated like that, we can just cut off the ones we don't need. Okay, so now we don't need this brown or this blue one, so we'll go ahead and cut those off. This will plug into our radio. Now this is coming from one side of this module. We'll take this black wire and we will get the black wires on this one, which I've already done, and we're going to put all these to a ground. Then the other one we need is our red, and then finally we need our white and our white with a black stripe. They also have a white with a red stripe, but we don't need it in this case. So just make sure that you match up your colors. And then you can just cut off all these extra wires that you don't need. So you want to get the wire in there just like that. Okay, now it's locked into place. Okay, so we need to hook up our solid white. Get a pull test. So now we'll just plug this one into here. And as you can see, the spade is actually not wanting to go in the middle. So just realign it. And there we go. Okay, here's the wire we ran from the pink wire. We'll go ahead and cut it off. We don't need the extra. We'll go ahead and strip it. Okay. Now then, we'll just take a butt connector. Then we'll grab the other side. Okay, remember the pink wire was supposed to go to our white with a black stripe. So we'll just stick that in there. Give it a little pull test and it is good to go. Okay, so now that we have our 2 whites hooked up, all we need is our 3 grounds. There's 2 from this side and 1 from the other side of the module. And then we need to hook up our red wire and we'll be good to go. And as you can see how these are frayed out, just grab them and give them a little twist. That way they make a solid connection. Okay, so normally I would advise you to go ahead and when you're wiring this up for your radio, just go ahead and add those wires into the butt connectors with it, or if you're soldering it. But in this case, we're just going to tap into the red and black wire just like we did with this red wire back here. So we're just going to tap into our red right here. Okay, so we'll just take this, fold it over. We'll grab our pliers. Just lock it into place like that. So now we can tap into our red one. Okay, so just like with the red one, you just put it in here, grab your pliers. You just make sure that lip goes over this little notch. Okay, so I came back. Instead of using a T-tap, I used one of these. These work really well. You just slide the wire in and then add your next wire, because you also have to take one of the grounds and connect it to the purple wire. This is a ground for the steering wheel controls. If you don't do this, then it won't work. So if you see SWC, steering wheel control ground, you definitely want to look where that tells you to plug it up to, because you're going to have to tap into it. So now all we got to do is close this up it just folds over and snaps in. Okay, now we can just sit our radio up here just so we can see what's going on. Now then, it should be pre-programmed. So we're just gonna boot the stereo up real quick. As you can see, turned red. Okay, so you want to come over here and hit each button and see if they work. So I hit mode and it's switching. So this is the default one they have set up for us. So we go to radio, we'll hit volume up and it's working. And then track up, we'll move our presets and it's working. When I hit the button for end call and answer call, both those work because you could see it turn green. That lets you know. And then the voice activated one, which I do believe you got to have your phone paired with the radio for that to work. Now I'm going to show you what you want to do if A, they didn't have your car listed, such as like that Mustang that we did. We replaced the steering wheel in it and it was never supposed to come with steering wheel controls. So we had to program it as if the car wasn't listed because it really wasn't. Or let's just say that you didn't like how they manually programmed the controls. So you can customize it however you want. You'll get to add short presses and long presses, giving you 2 commands on 1 button. So first you're going to pull up your sheet that I showed you on the computer. I'll put it up on screen for just a moment now. If you look here at the Pioneer, it says volume up, volume down, mute, preset, preset, source, track up, track down, band, phone menu, answer call, end call, VR. Okay, so before getting into actually programming it, I want to explain a few things and show you a few things. So to get it started, it'll start off as red. You'll hold down till you see green, and then you'll let off, and now you can go ahead and start doing them. If you wait too long, I believe it's 7 seconds, and you see this thing flash 3 greens, that means it already went out of programming mode. So whatever you've done to that point is programmed. Anything you missed, you have to reprogram it. So you kind of want to do it a little quick. So it's good to have it pulled up on your phone and ready to go. Another thing is this blue button here. When you hold it down and you're in programming mode, if you want to skip something, you press it. And you saw the green light flicker. That means it passed over the one that was ready to go. So our first one would be volume up. So if I did that, it would skip volume up. You're usually just going to use this on things that you don't have. So not everyone has band or answer call and end call. They may not have those buttons on there. So if you don't, you just hit that, let the green light blink, and that lets you know you skipped over it. If something goes wrong with it, this red will not be a solid red when you're done. It will be either flashing or going between red and amber. And this is what it looks like when you do long hold. So we'll go ahead and do that, and we'll do a short press. As you can see, that's what short presses look like. And then a long press. Now on this one, it's blinking red, but it should go back and forth between red and amber. That's how it's supposed to be. This one's just a little weird, but it works. Now then, it blinked 3 times because we waited too long. Now we're actually going to get into programming it. I have to go a little quick, that way we don't mess it up and we can get it done. So we hold down till it turns green. Now we're going to do volume up, volume down. We're going to hold for mute. And then we're going to do preset up, preset down, then source, and then track up. We'll do a long hold. Down, long hold, then we'll skip, and then phone menu we will skip, and then answer call, end call, and VR, so voice recognition. And now it's programmed. After you do your final one, it'll blink 3 greens, and then it should go to solid red. Now at this point, you'd go ahead and test it, which it's working. We're going through our things. So if you do long holds, it will go through your favorites. So I would have done this backwards. I would have done the long holds to make it go between stations, and then short presses to go between our favorites. And then you can check out all the rest of them. So like your mute. So if we turn that up and then hit mute, it mutes it. So it's all working good. So finally, the last thing I want to show you is, say you programmed it and you just don't like the way it was, or you just want to go back to their default programming. All you got to do for this is hold down the blue button. It'll turn green. Keep holding. And see, it turns amber. That's like a factory reset for this. So now we let go and it will go back to the standard programming. Okay, so you always want to test all your functions. So if we hit our voice recognition, pulls up Siri, hit it again and it'll go away. And now I'll be getting a test call where I can answer it with the buttons and I can hang up with the buttons, because you want to test them all. Okay, so there is our test call. Now over here we have answer and then hang up. I'll hit answer. As you can see, it turned on the phone. So now we can also hang up by just hitting the hang up button. Just like that. So now that we know everything works, what I like to do is I like to take double-sided 3M tape and attach it to our radio up here. But I can't find my 3M tape, but I have something just as good. Okay, so I have this Velcro stuff where the back side is sticky. What we'll do here is we'll peel one side off. We'll stick it to our control module. Like I said, I normally would do this with double-sided 3M tape, but once you got that, we just peel up the other side. And we will stick it right down on here. That way it stays nice and secure. Perfect. Now then, you want to go ahead and wrap up any wires you did expose, and you want to go ahead and reassemble everything. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And that's all there is to it. So if this video helped you out in any way, please leave me a like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you.